by all account, we are only scratching the surface. My name is Kinshuk Pahare. With me is Kelly Burton. And today we are going to talk about application of generative AI and machine learning on analytics. So with the agenda, we are only going to spend under 5 minutes talking about defining generative AI and modern data stack. But we are going to focus most of the presentation on all the announcements, on diving deep into all the announcements that you have heard in the last few days. More importantly, we have not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 demos across the analytics products. So stay tuned. So generative AI, right, it's a subset of artificial intelligence. And while some of the artificial intelligence had been, traditional artificial intelligence had been focused on, pattern recognition and forecasting, generative AI generates new content, sometimes original content. These models employ machine learning algorithms, and they are trained by using large amount of data and large amount of compute, more specifically the GPU compute. Now, AWS is the best place to build a data strategy to fuel your generative AI application. It has the most comprehensive set of capabilities, whether it is around storing, querying, processing, and doing business intelligence. It's well integrated. You have options around integrating data using ETL, ELT, zero ETL. And finally, it has governance, built-in governance support across, to ensure that you actually have responsible AI. Now, this is the end-to-end data foundation. Here, you can ingest data using data integration service like AWS Glue. You can ingest data from a wide variety of sources. And then you can store, query, and analyze it using a variety of processing engines, store it in data warehouse using Redshift, or into data lake. And finally, once you have the curated data in data warehouse or data lake, you can use SageMaker, QuickSight, depending on your use cases for analyzing, building machine learning application, and so on. So this entire presentation, we are going to start from the left-hand side, which is data integration. We're going to look at data quality checks. Then we'll talk about data governance and data storage into data warehouse like Redshift. And finally, Kelly is going to talk about QuickSight and the business intelligence part. So let's start with data integration. AWS Glue is the serverless data integration service. It allows you to connect to a wide variety of data sources, SaaS applications, data warehouses, databases. AWS Glue Studio offers a variety of authoring interface. You have the low-code, no-code interface. You can actually use the DAG, define it completely visually. Or you can use the wrangling interface, which allows you to express your data transform in terms of recipes. The second option you have is with the Glue Studio Notebook. So if you prefer authoring your data integration jobs using Code, PySpark, Scala, you have the option to spin up a Glue Studio Notebook and author your jobs that way. Now, Code Whisperer allows you to build application faster. It's your AI coding companion that allows you to author code across a variety of languages and do it in a very rapid manner. This year, we integrated Code Whisperer with Glue Studio Notebook. And here, the idea is that you will be able to generate code for your data integration pipeline. For complex transforms that, that are difficult to code, integrating it with Code Whisperer, you can actually automatically generate that code. So next, I'm going to show you a demo of how this works.
Before you can use it, you have to take care of a small step, which is give permission to the role that you use in the notebook, so it can use Code Whisperer. You can just add an inline policy to your role, search for Code Whisperer permissions, and choose the permission to give recommendations. And that's it. Just give it a name, and it gets added to the role, and now you can use it. So I have created a notebook configured with the role that it was authorized to use Code Whisperer. So now Code Whisperer is running and is waiting to help me. So I also started a session with the common configuration, and now I'm going to show you a few examples of how Code Whisperer can help you. Okay, let's start building a sample data set so we can play with it. So I'm going to ask it. Okay, so once I enter, it's going to start offering me suggestions. You can also trigger it yourself. Let's pick this one. So I click tab to accept. Then it's going to keep offering more examples until I finish the line. And then it's going to asking me to offer me to put the column names for the data frame. Okay, this looks good. Tap to accept. And that's it. So I have now my data frame. It's now suggesting if I want to convert it to dynamic frame. Not yet. So I'm going to say now count unique values. So it's going to give me the code. I can just tap to accept and enter to run the cell. And it's telling me that, yeah, all the values are unique. Let's now do something a little bit more practical. Let's say I want to add a column with the total price for each order. So it is a little bit vague, but the algorithm is able to figure out correctly. Let's print out to see the result. Check that it's correct. So yeah, it's multiplying the columns and it looks right. To wrap up, let's imagine that you just now want to save the data frame, Spark a file, so on and three. So it's going to suggest me the line that I need to use. I just have to put the path and that's it. So in this short demo, you have seen the possibilities that artificial intelligence through Code Whisperer can bring and how it can help you be more productive when writing your code. Thank you for listening. Before you can use it.
Now, the second important aspect of having the modern data stack is having a high quality data. One of the biggest challenge is that having access to quality data is super important for every single downstream application that you are building. Whether you're building a business intelligence application, whether you're building a Gen AI application, they are all relying on ensuring that you have access to quality data. Now, traditionally, what you do is you define the rules when it comes to data quality checks. Possible examples of rules are, hey, for this column, the value should stay within this range, or the value should not exceed a certain value, or it should not have null values, or it should only have integers, and so on. But those are not enough, because the biggest challenge is that your business environment changes. The thresholds that you have set up today may not be relevant tomorrow, and though that means that for you to actually constantly having to update your data quality rules. So this week we announced anomaly detection and dynamic rules. This is a machine learning based algorithm that we have built with AWS Glue, where you detect the anomaly based on historical analysis, And it generates insights, which allows you to actually create dynamic rules. And I'll show you an example of what dynamic rule looks like. So in a static rule, as I mentioned, you have fixed thresholds. With dynamic rule, you can actually make it more interesting. You can say, the rule is that it should be greater than last 10 days of average of 10 days, plus minus 2 standard deviation. And what happens is that when your business environment changes, the rule stays consistent. So the key idea here is that you don't have to manually go and keep editing and updating rules based on changes to your business environment or based on changes to the seasonality. The way it works is very simple. You create data quality rules. You just specify a column. We gather data statistics, and the machine learning algorithm automatically generates a recommendation. Now, you can also stop there. If you don't want to actually create rules, you can say just generate alerts if the value changes or the deviation is significantly higher. But obviously, the algorithm can also intelligently recommend dynamic rules which you can apply for your data quality checks. So this is the second demo where we are going to talk about data quality.
Hello, I'm Alison, Solution Architect at AWS. I'm going to show you how easy it is to enable data quality on the data pipelines you build. I'll show you how AWS Glue learns from your data to identify anomalies that cause data quality issues, therefore helping you to build and refine your data quality rules progressively. Here I have a New York taxi dataset data pipeline. It takes this data on a daily basis, aggregates it, and loads it into another S3 bucket. Now, to enable data quality checks, I simply add the data quality transform. I really have no time to configure data quality rules now, so I'm going to use the new ML capability to help me build rules I can evolve later. For this, I'm going to add an analyzer called row count. Analyzers gather statistics and detect anomalies in your data. This is going to gather our row counts, learn from the patterns, and start detecting anomalies. I've run this job a few times now for each new dataset, and Glue has learnt the patterns of my loads. I've also referred to the documentation and have set up alerts to let me know when new anomalies are detected. Now the disaster day comes. Our data file has low volume. Without this detection capability, my Glue job would have just run fine, and later I could spend hours debugging an issue. With Glue data quality anomaly detection capability, it's easy. Simply go to the Observations tab and notice that Glue data quality has already generated an observation about the abnormal drop in row count. You can also visually see this from our graphics. Now, I'm interested in monitoring and even stopping my job when I see this abnormal row count. For this, I am going to apply the rule I just created in my data pipeline by clicking on Apply Rules. Then I'm going to convert my rule into a dynamic rule. With this rule, my row counts will be monitored with a dynamic threshold that will look at the running average of the past 10 executions. With Glue data quality, you can combine the power of machine learning and data quality rules to deliver high-quality data for your business users, enabling them to make confident business decisions. Thank you.
So far, what we have done is we have looked at the ingestion pipeline. We are at the raw data to curated data stage. We have done the data quality checks. Finally, this is a new announcement that we made yesterday. It is end-to-end data integration job authoring. So one of the bigger, with the generative AI, what you can do is you can actually just describe your intent, and it will generate your entire data integration pipeline. You can express the intent. For example, you can say something like, ingest data from S3, join on column account ID, and save data into S3 using Parquet. And that will generate your end-to-end ETL pipeline that you can review and deploy. That is the new announcement that we made as part of in Swami's keynote. Okay, so now we have ingested the data. Now we are going to talk about data warehouse. Now, Redshift Query Editor v2 is a SQL-based, free web-based SQL authoring interface. This year, we added a notebook capability onto the Redshift Query Editor v2. And it allows you to actually create schema, load data, and look at your data set holistically. With Amazon Q, now you can author SQL queries based on natural language prompts. This significantly increases the productivity and allow you to author complex SQL based on the data set that's already existing in your system. And it continuously improves your accuracy of SQL transforms. How it works is Query Editor v2 sends query context, and it receives SQL code suggestion that you can copy and deploy into your notebook and execute those. And we are going to just see this in the demo. So here, you have the Query Editor v2. This interface should be familiar. And we are just going to add a notebook tab. With the notebook tab, you can click on Generative SQL, which is going to open a chat interface. Now, on the chat interface, you can just express what you want to achieve in natural language. In this case, we are just going to show birthday of the user who bought most number of tickets. You don't have to specify table, database, any of these things. And now it's generating a response. That you can add to your notebook. Let's look at a second example, which is even more abstract. How many tickets did he bought? And again, it's going to generate the SQL, which you can automatically add to your notebook. And finally, you can review the generated code and click Run. This is another announcement. This is one of my favorite features of recent announcements, which is an AI-driven optimization. I like to think of this as an automatic tuning based on your data, based on query complexity, and concurrent uses. Here, Redshift will automatically scale to support the intent. And it is, with the AI-enhanced optimization and forecasting, it automatically organizes the data beyond, which is better than beyond traditional encoding. It's enabling it is very simple. It's just a two-step process. You create a preview work group, and then you adjust price performance toggle. You can optimize it all the way to the right, which is for the performance, or all the way to the left, which is optimized for cost. OK, so we talked about integrating data. We have got the data into data warehouse. Now let's talk about governance. Now, governance provides guardrails to innovate faster. For any application, the good intentions don't work. You need to have the right mechanism to ensure that users can develop their applications, share the data, and have the right policies, the right security policies that are protecting the data. Amazon Data Zone allows you to achieve just that. You can manage organization-wide governance policies. It simplifies access for analytics. It catalogs the data. You can also annotate the data. And you can it solves sort of specific business cases for business users. But the biggest challenge is finding, understanding, and documenting data. It is a complex task. It's a menial task. It's not a very interesting task. And to address this, we have announced AI recommendation for description, where using the power of generative AI, you can generate detailed and contextual description for the data. And it is very, very easy to enable. All you have to do is find the data and click on Generate Summary. And then you can choose to edit the summary, or you can actually choose to accept the summary. And finally, you can accept all the suggestion, edit it based on your insight, and accept it. So we've gone from taking raw data, integrating it, performing data quality checks, storing it into Redshift, having a perfectly optimized or an optimized way to actually store it, catalog it, and then end-user productivity using generating SQL, and finally, generating catalog and governance metadata using generative AI. Now I'm going to hand over to Kelly Burton, who's going to talk about QuickSight.
Great, thank you, Kinshuk. I have the distinct pleasure of sharing with you how we're going to empower the business with our AI capabilities. As Kinshuk mentioned, I'm going to round this out talking about the business intelligence piece. Business intelligence at AWS is about Amazon QuickSight. Amazon QuickSight allows you to create modern dashboards, to do machine learning, such as forecasting, anomaly insights, and also ask questions via natural language query. That's all been there prior to this week. We have paginated reports, so think headers, footers, full table print, multiple page, through your traditional bursted reporting, as well as supporting a number of different kinds of embedded analytics. We can embed visuals, dashboards, as well as the actual authoring experience in an external web page. So that's been there prior to this week. We're excited to announce some generative BI capabilities this week. And when we talk about generative BI built upon Amazon Q and QuickSight, we're thinking productivity gains. How do we empower business users to be more efficient and more productive? So generative BI with Amazon QuickSight is built on the AI capabilities of Amazon Bedrock's large language models. It creates a new natural language experience that delivers reliable analytics through QuickSight's analytics engine. What that means is we're empowering business users to collaborate on data across the organization more efficiently and getting you to data-driven insights faster. So we're going to take a look at a few examples, and everything I'm talking about today is currently available in preview. We had some authoring capabilities available previous to today, but everything today you can access in preview with Amazon QuickSight. So the generative BI capabilities with QuickSight are really focused into three areas. The first is our AI-powered dashboard authoring experience. And what that means is we're supercharging business analysts to build dashboards more quickly and efficiently. It's also lowering the technical bar and the learning curve. So people who weren't traditionally analysts can build dashboards. The second area, and this was introduced on Tuesday, is the ability to create AI-powered insights on demand, to allow business users to be able to ask a question when it's convenient from them. If it's 10 o'clock at night and they're prepping for a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning and they need answers, they can ask a question and get a multi-visual response immediately, surfacing insights from the data. And finally, we're going to talk about AI-assisted data storytelling. Data stories allows business users to discover and share findings to persuade others to take action. Think your traditional monthly or quarterly reports, and we're going to talk about that in more detail. We're going to focus on each of these areas individually. So the first hat we're putting on is business analyst. So think dashboard developer, somebody who has to create the content. So with our generative BI capabilities for authoring experience, you can now create visuals using natural language. You can say, show me sales by month. You're not having to drag and drop and make selections. You're not having to pick fields. QuickSight, with the generative BI capabilities, will build the visual for you. The second piece, and my favorite part of the authoring experience, is creating calculations. Authors can now describe the calculation they want to create, and the syntax will be created for you. So it really lowers the bar of having to come over and learn new syntax with different tools. So it will create the calculation. And finally, the piece where you build the dashboard, but then before you really want to share this dashboard, there's that fine-tuning that takes place. Things like turning off zoom bars, maybe changing the chart type. Things that typically take 5, 6, 10 mouse clicks to make it look really good. You can now edit visuals with natural language. You can say, change the chart type to a donut. You can change the field types in a visual. You can change the different time granularity. These are all things that helps an author become more productive to get dashboards out and available. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into this piece, but I'm going to ask you, I know it's late in the day, but to kind of join me on the journey, because I want to take you through a day in the life, what it really takes to build something. So I'm going to ask you to put on your hat of analyst. So you're going to be an analyst in a fictitious auto manufacturer. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Your managers come to you and said, I have a planning meeting for next quarter at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I need a dashboard. I need to understand our sales performance metrics across multiple dimensions to try to find areas to focus our campaigns for next quarter. Okay, it's 4:30, I have dinner plans, I don't want to leave this overnight, so I'm going to try and use generative BI to expedite the dashboard creation. So let's take a look. Here we are within the QuickSight interface. So if you're not familiar with QuickSight, as an analyst, this is our analysis view. So we've got our fields on the left-hand side. We've got our visual pane right next to that. And then we have our canvas where we build our dashboard. I'm going to start by giving this sheet or tab within the dashboard a name. We'll call it a sales dashboard. Then I'm going to ask QuickSight Q, to build me a visual. I want sales by month, kind of thinking about trends. When I ask it, it's going to come back and say, maybe you want a line chart. I can take a look and get key insights delivered to me. I can see my top movers, my bottom movers, my anomalies. I can even add a forecast to that line chart directly within the interface. I like this chart. I'm going to go ahead and add that to my analysis. So now we're looking at trend. We've got monthly trend, and we've got a forecast. Did a little sizing. I'm going to go out and ask QuickSight to build another visual. This time, I want to look at maybe my month-over-month % sales difference. So I'm going to ask for that. When I do that, QuickSight says, oh, you likely want a KPI. So I've got my KPI. I'm going to add that to my dashboard. When I do that, I'm going to do a little bit of navigation here. We'll size this down. We're going to move this directly under our trend chart. And just showing you some additional features within QuickSight. As I size this, I'm going to change the title so it says month-over-month sales percent difference. And while we're doing that, notice I just have 2 points on this chart because I asked for month-over-month. I've just got my last 2 months of data. The generative BI applies filters as well. So I only ask for month-over-month, so it gave me the last 2 months. But I have the option, maybe I do want to see the whole trend. I can disable that filter and see that trend line. I could also turn off that trend line as well. You can ask for specific visual types. As a builder, I know I want to see a sand key diagram of sales comparing region and body style. So I can specifically ask for that and have that visual built for me. That visual would have taken me at least 7 mouse clicks and 3 drags to get that created. I can do it in less than a few seconds by just asking the question. Doing a little sizing here. I've got region, I've got body style, I've got a sales trend. Something I don't have is country performance. Maybe I'm interested in my top 5 countries. So I'm going to ask that question. But notice what I didn't do is I didn't say top 5 countries by what? What metric? Do I want profit? Do I want sales? So it's going to make a guess. Hey, maybe top 5 profit's what you want. But it was kind of vague. So we had that did you mean section. So it offers me other suggestions. In this case, I wanted to use sales, so I made that selection. We'll size this down, move it to the top. And so we're really making great progress with building our dashboard. I do want to focus just on my data for this year. So I'm going to go create one more visual and say, build me a visual. We're going to want to look at sales by month and body style for 2023. So notice when I do that, you can see the interpretation below. So it did apply the 2023 filter, and it gave me a table. I really don't want a table. I want a bar chart. I can very quickly, as the builder, change that chart type and then add that to my analysis. So we've spent less than 5 minutes building out several visuals that meet the needs of our manager. But we always want to exceed expectations. So let's talk about calculated fields. Maybe we want to add some new dimensions for them to look at in that sales planning meeting. In this case, we're going to ask for create a vehicle type field. So in my data, I've got fuel type. I've got hybrid, I've got electric, and I've got gas. So maybe I want to just compare gas vehicles versus any type of EV. So I can ask that question and just say, hey, if it's hybrid or electric, I want it to be EV, all others are gas. And it will create that if-else calculation, the syntax for me. So now I have that vehicle type field to utilize within a visual. In this example, I'm just creating the visual manually to show you the QuickSight interface and the 3 panes. So here we're going to pick our vehicle type and our order date, and then we're going to look at that with total sales, and then I'm going to change the aggregation type of order date to year. So now we're looking at our new vehicle type field, and we can see our sales data. But maybe we want more. We've got sales, but what about profit? What's our profit margin look like? So I'm going to create another calculated field and say calculate profit margin. In this case, I'm going to say use total sales and total profit because I know I have those fields in the data. I'm going to do that, and it's going to create that profit margin calculation for me. Notice I have the opportunity to review it. I can choose to insert that into the expression builder and then save the calculation. I could also make modifications there as well. So I'm going to add the profit margin calculation to our table. At this point, I like the table, but maybe the pivot table would look a little better, so I'm going to change my chart type to pivot, and then we're going to put our date field on the columns. created 2 calculated fields very, very quickly. I did not have to look up in the documentation to figure out how to build the calculation. I was able to use the new generative BI capabilities to create that for me. We're going to go out and create just one more quick calculation because we want to look at the month-over-month % difference. And this is a calculation or a question that we get a lot, looking at the different functions and how do we create those calculations. So we have a whole range of period-over-period functions. But instead of having to learn or look up what intakes it takes to create that syntax, you can just say, create the month-over-month calculation, and it gives you that period-over-period % difference calculation. So we'll save this calculation. We're going to create one more quick visual. We're going to create a line chart. And we'll choose our order date on the x-axis. We're going to aggregate that up to month so we can use our month-over-month % difference calculation as our value. And then we're going to split that line chart by vehicle type so we have a line for each vehicle type. So our manager asked us to look at sales performance metrics within our data. In less than 10 minutes, we were able to do that, plus add a number of calculations and some additional breakdowns. So now we've sized our dashboard here. It looks pretty good. As I'm looking back through, I've created visuals, I have created calculations, but I know this is getting shown to a large group, right? So is there anything I need to do to fine-tune, to make it more visually appealing? Well, the first thing I see is that country total sales chart. I'm doing top 5. I don't really like the bar chart. Maybe I want to make it a donut chart instead. So I can edit with Q and say, change this to a donut chart. And the chart type is changed. Notice you see a link there that tells you what all you can do with the edit as well that you can explore. Other things, though, right now we're showing 2 different monthly trend charts. We really don't need monthly trend times 2. And we're looking for a quarterly planning meeting. So maybe we want to change the level of granularity of this chart. So in this one, I can say, hide the zoom and change the granularity to quarter. So we can show it by quarter. So instead of having to make the 6 or 7 mouse clicks to make those changes, I can immediately do that using natural language query. All of this is available with the authoring portion of the generative BI capabilities. I just changed the title, so I'm looking pretty good. The only thing that looks a little bland, I'm really having to kind of hunt through and look at to understand, is that pivot table. Maybe I want to add some conditional formatting to that to really draw out the key areas. So conditional formatting is one of the things you can use with the edit capability. So I'm going to say, make sales greater than 50 million, dark green. You could use multiple facets. You could use it on profit margin as well. But if you've used the conditional formatting functionality, you know it's several steps to set up, several mouse clicks. It's very easy to apply that with the generative BI. So now I've got my dashboard created. I publish that, and then it's available to share to my business users. So again, it was 4:30 in the afternoon when my manager came to me and asked for this. And in less than 15 minutes, we have our dashboard built to share. That's the productivity gains that the authoring features bring to you. Okay, we're going to switch hats now. We've built a dashboard. We've published a dashboard. Now we're going to talk about business users, people who need to use those insights and what we can do. 2 really exciting things that were announced on Tuesday are currently available in preview. These are for our business users, is the ability to create executive summaries from dashboards. So as a business user, I can create an executive summary that gives me a natural language summarization of key insights of a dashboard. It'll give you things like top and bottom movers, anomalies, many things that's available in the insights, all in a natural language query pane. The other piece that's very exciting with Amazon Q within QuickSight is the ability for a business user to ask a question or select from a list of suggested questions and get a multi-visual response. So in a previous version of Q, you got one single visual. Now you get multiple visual for a more robust answer, so you can truly understand what's going on in your data. If you ask a vague question as a business user, like top 5 countries, you're going to get the did you mean pane as well, so you can make some suggestions that will help guide you to that answer. We also are going to provide insight summaries within that pane, so you can get you some context, so you can more confidently understand the data. Those were the two key components announced for business users on Tuesday. And another key and very exciting add for us from a generative BI capabilities for business users is the storytelling. The ability to create data stories as a business user. So the new data stories functionality allows business users an interactive visual way to create and share information. And they can do this by just giving a natural language prompt. So with data stories, they're able to create that typical weekly, monthly flow. With the analyst hat on, the folks of you teams, we hear all the time from a use case perspective, we have a monthly meeting. And in order to prepare for this monthly meeting, I have to go search through multiple dashboards, multiple reports, typically end up taking either a screenshot or a screen grab, get a GIF image, and then I push those out, and then they get imported into some kind of slide deck or document or email in order to create the report. The data stories brings this all together in a single location. So with the data stories, the AI can search for the insights and the findings. It will create the natural language context and then allow you to share those with others. So we're really excited about the data stories and the amount of time it can save our business users. It also helps with the security and the governance, because once you start taking snapshots of images, you lose all the security and governance with that. So we're going to take a look at building a data story and how this works. Again, this is available in preview today. So back with our car manufacturer. So now we're the sales manager. So the dashboard's been delivered to me. So I have this dashboard. How do I want to share my insights with other users to get them to take action? I'm going to create a story. So with the data stories, with our published dashboard, the user's able to go say, create story. You can create a scrollable page or a slideshow. And then you provide the prompt. What kind of story do you want? I want a story about body style, region, and country, total sales, highlighting key trends. You can choose what visuals to be considered for the story. It does not mean that they will be brought in automatically, but which ones do you want to be considered? And those can be across multiple dashboards. QuickSight will go out and build the story. It will have multiple sections. It will have a title. You can do formatting on the title. Here I'm just adding my name here. You see a number of different sections. But you still have control as the business user. So here I'm seeing my total quarterly sales trend. If I want to add that monthly sales trend visual that wasn't already incorporated, I can do that as well. So as a business user, I can add different visuals. I can add a title to this as well and do some formatting. As I scroll down, you can see I've got the sales by region and body style. The SAN key chart came in with some key metrics. My top 5 countries sales came in. Is in a paragraph style. Maybe I want to change that to bullets. So these are the things as a business user you can modify. You have control, but the insights are being generated for you. I also have the ability to modify visuals. I could change the chart type. In this case, I'm going to take off the legend, make it look a little cleaner since I already have the labels on the donut chart itself. I added the monthly sales trends up earlier in the report, so I'm going to delete that section. I'm going to add another visual in the body style section where it talks about the different SUV demand. I can do multiple things with the additional sections. I'm going to delete that utilizing insights across departments because it's not exactly relevant. And then I'm going to change my conclusion to say next steps or call to action because I want to make sure people who view this story know I'm asking them to do something. You have full control over modifying the text, and then I'm going to add that call to action at the bottom of my story. I'm going to do some formatting here once I say, hey, I want them to bring some ideas to our next meeting. And our story is created. Now, it looks pretty good, right? But we do have control over the different styles as well. So we've got a few different styles available. I like the dark style myself. It really kind of pops off the screen. So you can apply those style sheets to your story as well before you share them. Create your story, and then you can share that story with other users. We went through some of this quickly, but what I wanted to show you, and I wanted to show it live, I mean, I built this for this particular presentation. It is truly a productivity gain. It is truly a point with generative BI where we can help our business users by giving them tools to make their lives easier and keep the governance and the security in place. With that, that wraps up my part of delivering the generative BI capabilities to business users, something we're really excited about. Again, we have authoring capabilities as well as the business user capabilities in preview today. And that kind of rounds out our presentation, walking you through of how we're adding the generative AI capabilities across the analytics suite. So on behalf of Kinshuk and myself, we thank you for your time. We have